From Scripps Sports, this is Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
After a couple of blowout wins, Bobcat football is ready to go for the crux of the season with back-to-back top 10 opponents starting this weekend against UC Davis. Hello, everybody. I'm Keaton Galogly alongside Grace Lawrence. We've got head coach Brent Vigen joining us, and QB1 Justin Lamson stops by the studio as well. All right, Grace, 66 points at home against Weber State. This was a massive performance by Montana State.
I mean, I'm just so impressed by this team and how they've grown over the course of the season. Think about week 2, that Sunday following that Gold Rush game. This team was 0-2, but they weren't going to let it write their story. They said urgency, not panic. We're going to rattle off 8 straight wins.
Yeah, so far, that's exactly what they've done, and we see a lot of guys playing at the highest level. Grace, as we look at this last game against Weber State, first on the defensive side, Caden Dowler, Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week, helped force 2 takeaways in this contest. That defense was certainly humming.
I love watching Caden play, the quarterback of that defense, and also the offense. I mean, it's complementary football, just like Vigen likes. That's what he stresses week in and week out. 11 different guys caught the ball, including QB1 Justin Lamson. 7 different guys scored a touchdown, including a career first, 6 years in the making, Ryan King.
Man, it's a lot of fun to watch, and right now we're seeing both that complementary football and that depth of this football squad as well. And for them, the next matchup comes up against a top 10 UC Davis team with that late 8:30 kickoff at Bobcat Stadium. All right, we're going to take a break, and on the other side of this timeout, we're sitting down with head coach Brent Vigen on the Bobcat Insider.
Take coverage of the Cats with you. Download our mobile app today. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Hello, everybody. Keaton Galogly alongside head coach Brent Vigen. And, Coach, let's start with a weekly honor. How about Caden Dowler, named Defensive Player of the Week in the Big Sky? Fine performance from the Billings native this week.
Yeah, well deserved, and typically got to put some stats up. He had an interception, forced fumble, and a bunch of tackles. Very, very deserving, but just another great performance for Caden in what's been a really solid season. Yeah,
we've seen a couple of takeaways now in that last game as well. It does seem like the focus on that has started to come to fruition a little bit in some of these games.
Yeah, those opportunities, you don't know when they're going to come around, but when they do, you got to make the most of them. So popping the ball out a couple times, being able to make the interception when the ball's in the air where it shouldn't be is what our defense needs to do, and has been doing it at a higher rate now, so it's definitely a good thing to see.
Yeah, fun to watch some of those takeaways. It's fun to see the guys celebrate, get out there as well. Just how much fun is it from your perspective on that sideline when the guys are celebrating that takeaway, celebrating with the fans, wearing the takeaway hat, the whole ambiance?
Yeah, I think it's become an exciting thing, obviously. And you force a turnover, you create a turnover, however that works. That's a big play. And for our defensive players to have the recognition, again, getting up on the stands now has become a home thing too. So, I appreciate what that's done just to recognize those guys, because those are huge plays in those games.
Also, speaking of the defense, Taki Aluila-Kepa making his return. First time he's gotten out there since week 1. How did he do? Just kind of getting the feet wet again, getting back out on the field.
Yeah, I think we got him 13 plays. That was kind of the idea, 10 to 15 plays, just to cross that threshold of playing again. Practice is one thing, but getting out there and playing, and you have to make quick decisions, have to be involved with contact, all those things. I think he passed that test. We look forward to more moving forward.
Overall, the depth of the defense has really shined. I know it's something you've really, preached and focused on over the years, but in general, I mean, has this depth maybe surprised you? Is it more than you thought, or is this kind of what you expected going into the season?
Well, I would say it's what we hoped for. I think the depth up front, playing 8-9 guys is where we thought we would be. It's probably the linebacker position. I think that was the real uncertainty of where the depth would come from, how many guys would be capable of playing, and the fact that we've been able to play 4 or 5 guys, that probably has exceeded expectations. And in the secondary, a little bit by committee is how, I think we maybe saw that playing out, but you don't know until you get into it, and have played 9 guys in the secondary pretty regularly. And that's different than we've been, and I think it's been a big reason for our success.
Well, you'll certainly need him this weekend against UC Davis, which we'll get into. One of the numbers that's been kind of circulating here against FCS opponents, you guys are 90-0 in the third quarter. 90 points for the Cats, 0 points allowed in the third quarter. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think you could look at it a couple different ways. Lots made of halftime adjustments, those type of things. I don't know if it's anything we're changing in great detail at halftime, but I think it's our guys being able to step out on that field in the second half with the right mindset. We've had leads in a lot of these games, and it's not always to go back out there with that kind of mindset, but really appreciate it, because the games are won in that middle part of the game, and we've been able to score a lot at the end of the halves. first halves, and then we've been able to go out and score and keep the other team from scoring, obviously. So, it's a stat that kind of blows you away a little bit, and we don't need to necessarily keep it up to that degree maybe, but we need to win those third quarters, and it's great that we've been able to do that to this point.
Yeah, plus 90 in the third quarter, we'll take it. Yeah. All right, let's talk about this offense a little bit. Let's start with an individual performance. Ryan King, at long last, getting that first career touchdown in game number 53. How special a moment was that for him and the squad?
Yeah, I felt like it was just a matter of time. He'd been getting involved more. I know the previous game there was probably a couple that could have been touchdowns. So I know Ryan's role on this team has really grown, I think, in the last month. His confidence has grown. I think Justin's confidence in him, the staff's confidence in him as well. So those opportunities are going to continue to be there for Ryan, and we need to continue to make those plays.
Well, he wasn't the only one who got into the end zone as well. Of the 9 touchdowns scored by 7 different Bobcats in this game, 11 different guys had a reception in this contest as well. How much you feeling like this team right now is really spreading around the wealth when it comes to the offensive performance?
Yeah, we are. We're healthy, so I think all the possible playmakers are out there for us. I think we've developed more of those playmakers as the season's gone along. I think Justin's found a comfort level with more and more guys. And I think as a coaching staff, it's not so much about game planning and get the ball in any one particular guy's hands. It's what does the defense give us? And Justin's done a good job of distributing the football based on that. So as we head down the stretch here, to have as many guys involved as we have is a good place to be. To stay healthy is a good place to be, I guess. And, we're going to need all those guys moving forward.
Especially for this game coming up against UC Davis under the lights. Let's talk about this Aggies squad. Just one game behind you guys in the Big Sky standings right now. Starting on the offensive side, Caden Pinnock, what a phenomenal freshman season he's had. What are some of his major strengths coming in?
Oh, he's dynamic. He's a dynamic passer first and foremost. He can make all the throws, isn't afraid to make all the throws. And then his athleticism just provides this extra layer. And it's not so much the design quarterback runs, but they can certainly do that. But his ability to extend plays, to keep his eyes downfield and make throws, but then to extend plays and make scrambles, it's probably unlike anybody we've seen, through the conference schedule for sure. And, our defense will have to be really assignment sound. Our rush lanes will have to have guys in them. We can't let him squirt out. We can't get him outside to contain those types of things because he's certainly what makes them go, and it's been very impressive for a redshirt freshman. Yeah,
a guy who's completing 75% of his passes in Big Sky play right now. He's thrown it to guys like Samuel Batu at wide receiver, Ian Simpson, number 0 at tight end. He seems like a monster. How are they utilizing that two-headed monster in the air game?
Yeah, Batu's he's all over the place. He's a dynamic receiver as far as his speed goes, but they use him in so many different ways, and his playmaking ability is in a different place than it had been before. I mean, he's been a good player before. I think he's moved in that position where he's one of the better receivers in our league. Simpson, I think they've really gotten involved more as of late, and he's an explosive player from the tight end position that can really cover ground. And they have good running backs. They have other good skill players as well. So it's not a matter of who they're going to get the ball sometimes. It's just a matter of defending their offense and keeping the ball in front of us and tackling when they do make some plays.
Yeah, speaking of Ian Simpson's athleticism, a front-flipping touchdown last week against Idaho. Finally, on the defensive side, we know they've suffered a number of injuries, but still looks like they're bringing some strength in on that side.
Yeah, a good scheme for sure. I think they're very well coached, and they've worked through some injury situations, losing the Connors brothers in particular. They have a good front though, anchored by Syke, who's really been able to get after the quarterback, and a lot of TFLs, a transfer from Harvard. But the core of their defense, to those linebackers and safeties, even without the Connors brothers, is very impressive.
All right, well, we're getting ready to go for a late kick. Anything you're going to do to kill some time in the afternoon while we're waiting for this one?
Oh, keep the guys busy. We've played at night a few times, so just another opportunity, and thankful we're at home for this one.
All right, well, be sure to get some sleep, and we'll be ready for a big-time game coming up on Saturday. In just a bit, Grace Lawrence rejoins us, and then quarterback Justin Lamson joins us here in studio as we get ready for a top 10 matchup between the Bobcats and the Aggies this Saturday night. Back with more of the Bobcat Insider after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
The Bobcats had to say goodbye to one of the great legends a year ago in touchdown Tommy Mellott, and the biggest question coming into this season was, of course, QB1, and that has been emphatically answered by Justin Lamson, who we're going to talk to in just a moment. All right, Grace, let's talk about this thing. Justin Lamson, what a phenomenal year he has put together so far this year, and he set the tone really week 1 in Eugene against Oregon.
I mean, you think about how this team describes him, toughness, grit, those are the words that come to mind when I've asked about this team, but just like you're saying, week 1 he set the tone. He lowered his shoulder into one of the best FBS safeties in Eugene, Oregon, and set the tone for the season.
And that's something that this entire team and coaching staff has continued to point to early on in that year. And Grace, this is also a coaching staff that knows him well. And what a unique and special season that both head coach Brent Vigen and quarterback Justin Lamson are able to share together.
Well, Vigen's been a great quarterback coach the entirety of his coaching tenure, almost like a quarterback whisperer. But he knew Justin back in high school. I mean, back when he was in California, coming up through the ranks, went to Syracuse, then Stanford, then a pit stop at Bowling Green, eventually came here. The stars aligned for Coach Vigen and him. They're a great duo. They've been putting together a great season. We'll be able to learn all about that connection coming up with Justin after this.
Get social with Bobcat fans and follow MTN Sports on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence joined alongside quarterback Justin Lamson. Thanks so much for coming in studio today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, and a big win against Weber State over the weekend. What was your biggest takeaways from that game?
Yeah, that was I think that was one of the best team wins we've had all year. I know offensively, just getting that field position, felt like we were on their side of the field the whole game, and then just our offense being able to execute, with that short field. I think everyone did their job, had a couple plays we want back, but overall pretty clean game from the offensive side at least.
Yeah, and then talking about your journey, you're someone who grew up around a lot of football. Your dad played, your brother played. What are some of your earliest memories? Yeah,
my earliest memories are just having a football in my hand. I remember going to the local park and them teaching me how to tackle. It's kind of in the Lamson family, you play football or you're not really doing anything, you know what I mean? So, and I think that comes from my mom as well. So, big football family, family super intense about the sport, so it's great.
When did you fall onto quarterback and realize that's what you were going to play?
Yeah, I think my dad always wanted me to be a quarterback. He was a tight end, and my brother was an O-lineman, so I just always was a quarterback in flag football growing up. I think I played a little bit of defense, but quarterback was always my main position.
And you're from California. California has some great high school football, so what was that world like before you went into college?
Yeah, I'm from like a pretty big town, but our mascot's the Trojans. You grew up playing for the Junior Trojans, looking forward to playing for Oak Ridge. It was very competitive with teams like Folsom and Rockland, like some powerhouses in California. So very intense. I was fortunate enough to win a lot of football games in high school, and we had a lot of great coaches. So it was awesome.
And you've talked about it before, so has Vigen, but you've been on his radar for years, ever since he was at Wyoming and he was recruiting you out of high school. What do you remember about first meeting Coach Vigen?
Yeah, I kind of remember him just kind of being the same guy, super humble, soft-spoken, and, always telling me the truth throughout recruiting in high school. I remember talking to him during COVID. I kind of had to go on my own visit to Laramie. I couldn't actually have contact with him there. But he was always great, very honest about everything, and that's kind of what I appreciate the most about him. And,
you've talked about the amount of respect you have for him. I mean, he's developed some pretty great quarterbacks. So talk to me about his resume and now being the next quarterback up that he's coaching.
Yeah, it's just, respect portion, the way he attacks every single day, what he commands out of practice is super special. There's not a day off, when we're out there practicing on a Monday or Tuesday. It's early in the week. We're still getting after it. And that's probably what I appreciate the most about him. And, we have meetings each week, and, he gives me his honest feedback, whether I like it or not, you know what I mean? And that's probably why he's such a great coach, kind of holds us to the standard of Bobcat football. And, I appreciate that about him.
And it's a pretty common theme whenever I ask anybody on the team what their favorite quality is about you. They all say your toughness. Where does it come from?
The toughness portion, of my game probably just comes from, how I've been taught and how I've been raised. I think my dad probably instilled that in me, and probably having an older brother instilled that in me a little bit. I'm not going to slide unless I really have to. Coach Vigen probably doesn't want to hear me say that, but I mean, it's hard for me to do that kind of stuff just because I like having contact, and I'm trying to be the guy that sets the tempo, I guess, every game, and you can expect that out of me. I know that for sure.
Yeah, and now that you've been settled into Bozeman for a few months and you guys have racked up 8 wins in a row, what have you enjoyed most about the Bobcat community?
I just think, like them showing out to every single game has been the most gratifying part of being a Bobcat football player. You know, whether it's raining, it doesn't matter who we're playing, the stands are filled. I remember early in the season I was talking to a guy like Hunter Parsons, and I was like, you know, we just had a big Gold Rush game. Are people going to show up? He's like, dude, they show up for every single game. I just think that's pretty cool. Just, you know, that's not happening everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely very special. How have you seen your offense develop as a whole over the past few weeks?
Yeah, I just think it's guys attacking the little things. You know, guys meeting with each other outside of our actual meetings. You know, guys being locked in and being unselfish at the end of the day. You know, a lot of guys are touching the football, and that's pretty cool. And, you know, I think everybody's just happy to see our offense succeed no matter what their role is. And also credit to the coaches. I mean, they're coaching their butts off, and we really appreciate them.
Yeah, you talked about meeting outside of kind of the constrained practice times. Jabez Woods mentioned a few weeks ago that you call up the receivers once a week to just go over some extra film, put in some extra work so everybody's on the same page. Where do those qualities kind of come from with you being the leader?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of holding up our standard. Like, we have to do our job. Like, we have a lot of meeting time with the coaches, but we got to meet on our own. Like, the coaches can coach us, but, you know, we're ultimately the ones on the field. So, you know, we try and have at least one meeting a week where we're just meeting with the guys, especially the skill guys. You know, they're telling me what they're seeing, what they're getting taught, and then vice versa. So I think it's been very helpful for us, and it honestly just creates a bond between us, you know, just hanging out a little bit longer and learning about each other. So it's been great.
Yeah, we started the show talking about your family and now talking about the Davis game this weekend. Your brother was an offensive lineman for UC Davis. You grew up not too far from the university. How unique is getting able to play them this weekend? Yeah,
it's super cool. You know, obviously, you know, went to a lot of Aggie games growing up, and I think it's really cool for him just being able to be at Bobcat Stadium. You know, I think prime time matchup, it's kind of cool how has came full circle, you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm thankful that he's going to be able to be there to watch it, and looking forward to the game.
And I remember you said back in fall camp he's got the Bobcat jersey ready to go this weekend. But you mentioned it's going to be a late kick. The elements, I mean, it's going to be cold. Who knows, you know, what the weather's going to be like, but it's going to be chilly. It's late November. How excited are you maybe for a game like that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, you know, our team attacks, you know, the elements. You know, we're hoping it's going to be really cold, and you know, I guess that's kind of just a motto thing that we're having, you know. And I think ultimately just the prime time matchup, that's cool just to be able to play on a national stage, and you know, we're excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, how prepared is this team for the next 2 weeks?
We're definitely prepared. You know, I wouldn't say we're, you know, looking past anybody, but, you know, I mean, we're treating these two games like every other game. You know, I think every team in the Big Sky is super good, super talented. And, you know, I know these two teams coming up are both super talented. So we're just looking forward to the opportunity and just trying to attack it the same. It's going to be a good matchup for both of us.
Definitely. Good luck this weekend.
Thank
Happy
you.
that your brother's got the Cats jersey ready to go. But it'll be a late kickoff on ESPN2. Stay tuned because Keaton and I will be previewing the matchup against the Aggies coming up after this.
Take coverage of the Cats with you. Download our mobile app today. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence joined alongside Keaton Galogli, and it's a family affair for the Lamsons. Justin's brother Colton played at Davis, but he said the family's going to be all decked out in the Bobcat gear this weekend.
Yeah, always cool when you get to see these types of connections, and you know Justin's very familiar with UC Davis and this Big Sky Conference as well, part of the reason he's playing so well throughout this season. And now he gets to go up against UC Davis for the first time. Grace, give us something you're looking for in this matchup.
I mean, when it gets to this time of the year, I'm always excited for the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball for Montana State. I'm seeing how they can dominate in that aspect. But I think what we've really learned about this Montana State offense is if you try and take away one aspect, the run game, the pass game, the other one's going to flourish if they don't together.
And that's the complementary football we've seen from this Bobcat offense. Meanwhile, for Montana State's defense, how does the secondary hold up against Caden Pinnock, who's one of the best freshmen in the country, as well as Ian Simpson, number 0, the tight end, and Samuel Batu, number 8. Both guys can really catch the football, and we're going to figure out how it all comes together coming up on Saturday for that 8:35 kickoff between the Bobcats and the Aggies. For Grace Lawrence, I'm Keaton Galogli. This has been the Bobcat Insider.